now on to the weekend, and it is a huge weekend in Barnsley. We've got 4 Players' Championships coming up before the cut-off for the World Matchplay. Of the players who we're saying who have qualified, who most need to run?
Yeah, we were talking off air about this question, and I think we'll answer the question differently because I'll focus on the players on the Pro Tour Order Merit. You said you'll focus on the ones who are qualifying as the seeds, and that way we'll talk about different players. And okay, Gabriel Clemens, Madars Razma, Brendan Dole, and Chris Dobie, and I know they haven't officially qualified yet, but being that they're each over 8,000 pounds ahead of the first person currently out, it would be very, very surprising if they were caught. It could happen, but it would be surprising. So I'm going to include them in here. I'm not including Andrew Gilding, Adrian Lewis, or Ross Smith because they have not qualified yet. They're in the pole position to get to the field, but they haven't qualified yet. So I'm sticking to the players who, as of right now, are in the top 13 Pro Tour spots. And I think a few of them really are in need of a run. Ryan Searle has not been the same player as he was last year. And there's been flashes recently that he's getting back because at the end of last year, he was right there in that conversation for the next major champion. I mean, he was within a leg of winning the Players' Championship final in Minehead at the end of the year. And no one was really surprised at that because of the level he was playing at the back end of the season, but he hasn't been as consistent this year. And okay, he's 4th in averages in the Players' Championship events, but he's laid a couple duds, including this past weekend on the European Tour. And it leaves some legitimate question marks about where his game currently is. A big week here doesn't have to be a title, but just getting some results, getting through to the quarterfinals a couple times will give him that confidence that he's right there where he was last year as one of the forces in the game and one of the breakthrough players in the game. But he needs that because right now he hasn't been showing that, at least not often enough. And there's a couple other ones, especially the players who are a little bit further down that Pro Tour Order of Merit, because it's not just about the World Matchplay. It's also about making sure you get to the World Grand Prix. It's making sure you get, at the very least, improve your seeding for the World Championships at the back end of the year. And as things currently stand, Brendan Dolan is not in the field for the World Grand Prix. Okay, it's not in Dublin anymore. It'll be in Leicester this year, but I'm sure he doesn't want to miss out just because he'll have to take a flight to it. And I mean, he was in the seeds in the Euro Tours last year and didn't get his just reward because there were so few of them. But he was playing at such a high level that hasn't been the case this year. Another player who has regressed quite significantly. And he's going to need to lift his game if he's going to be a force in the World Matchplay. He's going to have to lift his game if he's going to be a force this weekend in Barnsley, because he is now threatening not to just drop out of that top 16 of the Pro Tour Order Merit, but drop out of the top 32 altogether very soon. Getting some results will help him make sure he gets the World Grand Prix, but also give him confidence heading into the World Matchplay, because it wasn't that long ago that he was playing at a level that you'd expect, okay, not to win the title, but if he's playing at his best, could go win a couple matches. Chris Dobie's another one of those players who I think needs a good run. Gabriel Clemens obviously has not been the same player as he was a couple years ago. Again, some flashes at times, but has really taken a step back. That's why, in terms of Pro Tour Order Merit, he is well behind Martin Schindler for the German number one on the Pro Tour. He still is obviously the German number one in the overall Order Merit, but that will change sooner rather than later if he doesn't lift his game. So those are the players I think really need a run right now from the Pro Tour qualifier. So I'll turn it over to you to mention the ones that you think from the top 16.
Yeah, and there's definitely a few in that list. Obviously, the 16 could change. We've got Krzysztof Ratajski currently in that 16th spot, but it's around £8,000 between him and Ryan. So you've also got Nathan Aspinall in there. He could potentially move into those 16 seeded spots if he has a good weekend. So that's not done and dusted just yet. But I'm looking at players that are guaranteed to be in the seeds, and one of the players I was going to pick out straight away is the current going to be the number 6 seed at the moment. That's Gary Anderson, and feels strange to say Gary, considering the last time that we saw him, he was making a final on TV, the World Series in Denmark, but that's the last time we saw him, and that was around 3 or 4 weeks ago. We didn't see him play in the World Cup. We haven't seen him play those Players' Championship events in Germany. And of course, we don't see him on the European Tour either. So it's been a little while since we've seen him. So I think he'll want to get some results this weekend, and especially as we're looking a bit further ahead. But he will be defending that runners-up money from the 2020 World Matchplay. So that money, if he has a bad run at the World Matchplay, a lot of that could be dropping off, and we could see him start to drop down those rankings. And as we've said before about Gary, and this was probably around the time when he won that Premier League night in Nottingham back in March time, we were saying, is this the start of another big run from Gary Anderson? And unfortunately for him, it didn't turn out to be like that. But he is defending that World Matchplay runners-up money, and at the end of the year, the runners-up money in the World Championship. So he is in need of a good second half of the year now to stop that slide down the rankings, which could potentially happen. So it could all start with a good run this weekend, and we all know he's capable of putting in a run of performances in a Pro Tour event, getting to a final. We've seen him already do it once this year, so I think he's going to be looking for a run. The player just below him, 7th on the provisional seeds at the moment, Jose de Souza, and someone that we've spoken about a few times this year. We've spoke about him a lot over the last few years, but more so recently for the not so good reasons, because his form from a couple of years ago, last year, hasn't been the same, has it? We've seen a few flashes this year. We've seen him get to a semi-final on the Euro Tour, and of course the World Cup. We saw him beat Peter Wright in that singles game. We've also seen the other side of Jose de Souza when he bust the 181 with the 180. But I think for him, and we've just seen at the weekend, he averaged 80 in his first game on the Euro Tour. We've just not seen him be as consistently brilliant as we've seen him in the past. And there was a lot of the seeds that went out at the weekend in the first round. I think it was 10 out of the 16 seeds lost their first game. But I'm going to mention a player that didn't play at the weekend, pulled out, and that is the world number 1, Peter Wright. And actually, I'll mention the world number 2 as well, Gerwyn Price, because this is probably not going to get as much attention as those spots for the match play, but the race to be the number 1 seed for the Winter Gardens, that is still very much in the air. I think there's around 13-14 grand between them at the moment. So, and we know that a Pro Tour win on the Players' Championship events, that is 12 grand. So you've got 4 of them. It's still up for grabs. So Peter Wright's still got that world number 1 spot. It's kind of been a bit of a poison chalice for him, hasn't it? We've not seen him play anywhere near as well as he was playing before he became world number 1. But Gerwyn Price will want to get that spot back. But again, as a world number 2, he's just thrown in an 82 average at the weekend in his first game and lost to the eventual finalist Roby John Rodriguez. So both of those players, they are in desperate need, I think, out of the seeds to have a good run this weekend, and especially Peter Wright, because we think back to last year and how well he played in the World Matchplay. It really started the event before. He had a few poor runs in the Players' Championships leading up to the World Matchplay, but the last one before the World Matchplay, he went all the way, won the title, beat Michael van Gerwen 8-2 with 108 average. We were calling him Last Day Peter Wright last year. He was winning all the last events in the Players' Championship series, and okay, he could have a few bad runs and win the last title, but I think if you were to offer him that now, he'd say, yes, please, thank you very much.